Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to another Soul Calibur video. Now today we're going to be talking about the Immortal Zasalamel. Now before I do start this video, I do want to apologize for any inaccurate ways I've actually pronounced this character's name in the past. Now in saying that, I've noticed that a lot of people have different ways of actually pronouncing this guy's name, so I just want everyone to know here that I'm simply only going by the pronunciation we heard of this character's name in the third Soul Calibur game. Anyway, let's actually get on to the video. Now Zasalamel is an ancient individual, having existed a very long time before Soul Calibur or Soul Edge. He was born into an ancient tribe that was entrusted with the task of protecting the ancient and powerful weapon Soul Calibur. Now despite them having this weapon in their ownership, it was deemed by the village elders as something that was far too sacred to desecrate, and thus they were in fact not able to use it in dire times of need. And this angered Zasalamel, as he wanted this weapon to be used for the greater good. So one day he would in fact wield Soul Calibur with the hope that he could change his villagers' minds about how this weapon is used, but unfortunately this backfired and Zasalamel was banished from his tribe. Now cast out and alone, Zasalamel would begin to study magic, and over the course of time became very talented in that field, and as years passed by he was successful in not only learning about the art of reincarnation but also performing it, using himself as the first guinea pig. Now it was a success. Though his body wasn't immortal, his soul in fact was, so every time his body perished, his soul would pass on into another individual's body with all his memory and knowledge intact, allowing him to seemingly live an endless life. Now despite this being a very amazing feat, as centuries and generations passed by, Zasalamel grew tired of living. It had become boring for him. It eventually drove him to the point where he started to take his own life with the hopes that he wouldn't be reincarnated once again. But in every scenario he did this, he was unsuccessful. So one day he came to the conclusion that he needed to be killed by the demonic blade Soul Edge, as its destructive nature and capabilities may be the key to ending his life. But when he got his hands on Soul Edge and killed himself, he was reborn once again. So this time he set his eyes on Soul Calibur with the hopes that it would do its job. But when he arrived at his former village, it was gone. You see, as the years passed by, Zasalamel lost track of time and didn't realize how long it had in fact been since he returned back home. And with his home now gone, so was Soul Calibur. So he would travel across the globe to find this weapon, and eventually he did, but it wasn't what he had quite expected. You see, at the end of Soul Calibur 2, Siegfried had driven the blade Soul Calibur through the eye of Soul Edge, stopping both blades and unifying them in something called Soul Embrace, which nullifies both Soul Calibur and Soul Edge as a whole. Now Zasalamel was angered by this. This was the only way he could get the peace that he yearned for, so he would in fact undo Soul Embrace and separate the two weapons. Now as he was about to take his own life, he realized how damaged and impure both blades were. There are fragments and shards missing from Soul Edge, and Soul Calibur itself had been tainted with Soul Edge's evil. So what he decided to do was to take Inferno, the being that lied within Soul Edge, and give it a body very similar to that of nightmares, as he wanted a nightmare to travel across the world and kill individuals to feed the blade's power. He knew that by doing this, Siegfried would be tempted to pick up Soul Calibur and use its godlike power to battle Soul Edge. Now Zasalamel is the main antagonist of the third Soul Calibur game, and as such does intertwine with numerous characters within the series, like Killick and Ivy, as he's trying to prevent them from not only interfering with Siegfried, but Nightmare, as he needs both of them at the peak of their power to obtain what he deems to be true death. Now during the climax of this game, he is in fact successful in absorbing both Soul Calibur and Soul Edge, but it doesn't go quite as planned. Instead of obtaining true death, Zasalamel transforms into a being known as Abyss, a demonic individual that seems to take form of a Reaper. So in a certain way, Zasalamel did obtain true death, but it wasn't what he quite had in mind. Now despite this, Nightmare and Siegfried decide to work together to destroy Abyss and obtain their respective weapons. Now after Abyss was destroyed, Zasalamel was released from its grasp. Now when he regained his senses, he had a very brief vision of the future, one that resembled our modern day society, and since he knew that he couldn't escape his immortality at this point, he would try to forge himself a better future, but wanted to pursue after Soul Calibur and Soul Edge just to guarantee himself that position. Now when he arrived at Ostrheinsburg, this plan somewhat kind of went out the window, as the Hero King Al Ghul had suddenly appeared, so he wanted to test himself by battling the Hero King. But the outcome of this battle was left rather unknown, as we know that in Soul Calibur 4, Al Ghul is battling Mitsurugi before he does disappear, and Zasalamel doesn't actually appear in Soul Calibur 5, so we don't really know what happens to him during the Battle of Ostrheinsburg. But who knows, he may have gotten the death that he had been yearning for such a long amount of time. But yeah, that's kind of it it for this video, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and learned more about this character, as he actually does have quite a large following behind him, and I think that's vastly because he has such an awesome moveset. I mean, having a Reaper Scythe as like your main weapon in any game is gonna make you like an instant fan favorite. So in many ways, I'm really hoping to see him appear in Soul Calibur 6, as I am a fan of his playstyle. Now once again, I don't really have any ideas in mind for next week's Soul Calibur video, so down in the comments below, throw out some suggestions for me to look at, as I always do appreciate your feedback and responses, as it gives me a good idea of what you guys want to see from me. Now before this video wraps up, guys, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel, as YouTube's ad system is broken as hell, so by giving it a thumbs up, it helps out a ton. And if you want to go the extra step, we also have a Patreon set up, and a link for that will be down in the description below. Anyway guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.